Independent candidates are turning out to be quite a headache, quite a huge headache for both presidential candidates. In fact, for both presidential campaigns. And really the bottom line, had the primaries been free and fair, both parties would not be having this headache. Yeah, that should be very clear. In fact, I need to repeat it. Had both parties carried out free and fair nominations where they allowed the people to make their decisions, then this problem would not be there. It's as simple as that. But there's a major revelation here that most people are not aware of. Okay? And I'm going to tell it to you. Now, you'll remember in the run-up to the elections 3-4 months ago, the IEBC, there was a very big headline in the newspapers that election losers, nomination losers will have, that'll beat, election losers will not have any recourse, they will not have any other option. Once you lose a nomination, that's it. Remember? And indeed, going into the final stage, almost the final stages of the preparation of the nominations, that was the whole idea. And this is the reason why, for example, in Jubilee, a lot of people defected from the party and went to other parties ahead of the nominations. Yeah, because they knew, or rather they saw ahead, they knew the changes which were being made inside the party. Obviously, they had information the rest of Kenyans did not have. And suddenly a lot of very prominent candidates, very prominent politicians jumped boat and they went to other parties. Of course, parties still supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta, but other parties. The biggest beneficiary, of course, was Maendeleo Chap, Alfred Mutua's party at Machakos. It benefited hugely from Jubilee defectors. And the main reason for this is that going to the elections, everybody knew once the nominations were over and a person had been knocked out in the nomination stage, there was no other option but to sit and support the winner. That's how it was. Then, you will remember, if I can remind you, at the very last minute, the IEBC changed and said that people lost in nominations would be allowed to stand as independents. Now, I need to give you another piece of information. Normally, this fixing of candidates is done many months ahead of the nominations. Okay, you fix your lineup of the people you expect to go through in each constituency, each county, and so on and so forth. Okay, now don't look at this only from one side. Yeah, I know it's bad, I know it frustrates the will of the people, but look at it from another point of view. These party bigwigs have information that we don't. Yeah, so in many instances, from my inside information, they have sensed some foul play, some dirty play by the opposite side, and then they have decided if we're not careful with that particular nomination, we could end up losing big. You see, this is competitive politics, and of course, as I've always said, there are no rules. So what stops the other party, the other side, from interfering with your nominations in a particular constituency with the whole aim of snatching the seat away from you, or with the whole aim of ensuring that come election day, you do not actually have a candidate because they've been disqualified on some, not disqualified, they have stepped down in favor of another party or another, of the other side. Yeah, I really don't need to remind you how crucial these elections are, and people can do anything. Yeah, for instance, a candidate can be cleared by the party, can win the nominations, and then before the elections, they just step down. Yeah, that means that that party will not have any representation in that area. Yeah, because the seat will end up being won by somebody else, maybe an independent or even the other side. You get my drift. And with the kind of money flying around in these elections, and President, I can tell you, it's very easy for somebody to be given the kind of money that they look at, and then they look at the headaches ahead of all the politics they'll need to play, and then they decide, why don't I just take this 100 million and disappear? That can easily happen. Yeah, it is a very high probability actually. So, because of these dangers, every party needs to be very careful. And whenever they get information that there's some sort of interference from the other side, they take steps to try and ensure that they have the deal sealed. So this is a reason for them. I'm not justifying what they do, but this is a motive, a strong motive actually, for somebody to actually fix or organize a nomination. Anyway, what has happened is that because of those chain of events, of the assumption being that, oh, you know, these guys, once they filled the party nominations, they'll not be able to vie anywhere. Then suddenly, at the last minute, when they have already almost finalized their plans, the IBC changes and says, no, they'll be allowed now to stand as independents. This is what has produced this mess. And what we have now on both sides of the political divide are very, very strong independent candidates. Yeah, in fact, in many cases, many of them are going to win. Now, in an earlier recording, I had praised the president a lot because he had taken a very laid-back attitude towards this independence. He had said, let the people decide, which is as it should be. But recently, even the president has done an about turn. Yeah, and now clearly has come out and said independents are not within the party. And not only that, Jubilee has made a very, very strong effort, very deliberate effort to get independents to step down in favor of Jubilee candidates, Jubilee nominees. Yeah, and a very good example is Nakuru, where there's going to be a very strong challenge from the incumbent Governor Kinuthia Mbogwa, who has since, after some heavy negotiations within State House, has stepped down and now is going to support Lynn Njiru for the gubernatorial race in Nakuru. Yeah, and there are many other places where the same tact has been tried. It has even been tried in controversial Uasin Gishu, where Buzeki has been asked to step down, but of course Buzeki has flatly refused. I'll cover that in another recording very soon. But you get the idea. Independents are becoming a real nuisance and a real threat to the presidential race. Now, maybe just before I go, let us just answer one question. Why this change of tact within Jubilee? Why has the president changed his mind about independence? Why has he done a complete about turn? I believe it has everything to do with what is unfolding in the Rift Valley. And as I've told you in many of my previous recordings, the Rift Valley is divided. Okay? Unbelievable to many, but it is divided. And of course, some people still don't believe. Anyway, now as a result of Rift Valley being divided, you can imagine an independent candidate campaigning on the ground. He has got no party loyalties. He's solo. He has got no support from the party. In fact, he's supporting a presidential candidate, but he's not getting any support in return. So he's totally a lone ranger. He's totally alone out there. So he goes to a certain area, and that area says, we would like to support CCM. We are supporting the CCM presidential candidate, Chama Cha Mashinani. And of course, that is NASA, the NASA presidential candidate, Raila Odinga. So you can imagine the independent telling them, okay, fine, you vote president, you can vote for Raila. But make sure you give me my vote, yeah, for the particular seat I'm standing for. You get my drift. That is not an impossible situation. And from the info, actually, let me just be honest, from the information I've been receiving from the ground, that is what has happened in at least 2 instances, yeah, of campaigns on the ground. So this is something that could easily spread to other key areas, yeah, other key areas where Jubilee is looking for votes, yeah. So independents are dangerous, and they're proving to be very dangerous. More so because they're extremely influential, they're extremely strong candidates. You know, looking at it, one would think that an independent would be somebody who already doesn't belong to any party, somebody who's a newcomer to politics, somebody who wants to bring a complete fresh, something very fresh into a particular constituency or a county, something completely new and different, yeah? So you stand as an independent, yeah? Not affiliated to any party, and you campaign as yourself. Okay, that would be understandable. But what is happening is that we're getting wazee wa kazi, established, popular, well-known politicians who have been locked out of the nominations, yeah, and are now standing as a solo independent candidate. And these people are dangerous, very dangerous. Because there's one other aspect, the aspect of emotion. Yeah, I've always told you this is important in any election. It's important in politics. Yeah, so imagine, in fact, the latest pronouncement. Imagine somebody maybe in NASA, yeah, on the NASA side, because this is common. I actually have a particular count in mind. Yeah, the person has been rigged out very clearly. Yeah, for all to see. He has been rigged out. He stood in the nominations. He was rigged out. Okay, now he's standing as an independent. Now the next thing people hear is that the party leader and the presidential candidate is disowning independence. Okay? Now, even if that guy doesn't tell his supporters anything, don't you think there will be an element of sympathy? And he'll get a lot of sympathy votes. Now, as he gets the sympathy votes, now when that same voter goes to the presidential and he looks at the post of that particular candidate who messed up his beloved candidate, how do you think they're going to vote? Independents are extremely dangerous. And that's why this election, let me just make an early prediction, is going to be full, not of surprises, it's going to be full of absolute shockers. We just wait and see. This is Kumekucha. Until next time.